How Princess Diana was betrayed. New revelations expose Panorama interview lies and their lethal consequences exclusive. 30 years later, new details reveal how Martin Bashir's lies and a BBC cover-up drew Diana into her most famous interview and altered royal history. Before the cameras captured the line that would echo through history, there were three of us in this marriage. Princess Diana stood in her private sitting room at Kensington Palace on November 5, 1995. Watching three men she had quietly ushered inside unpacked camera equipment smuggled in cardboard boxes. She had sent her staff home. No makeup artist, no stylist, no standard TV crew. This interview, for the BBC investigative program Panorama, had to be in secret. The stakes, she believed, were that high. This was her chance to reclaim her voice and tell her story on her own terms. Decades later, it became clear that the interview was the product of an extraordinary deception. A 2021 independent inquiry led by UK senior judge Lord Dyson found that journalist Martin Bashir had used forged documents to manipulate Diana, a scheme BBC executives later tried to conceal. Prince William would go on to blame the interview for fueling his mother's fear, paranoia, and isolation, and worsening her strained relationship with Prince Charles. Investigative journalist Andy Webb has spent nearly 20 years unearthing the full truth, first sparking media coverage and ultimately prompting the Dyson inquiry, which he says overlooked the BBC's 25-year cover-up. As recently as 2024, his Freedom of Information battle forced the release of thousands of additional BBC emails, though many remain heavily redacted. Webb's new book Dianorama, Deception, Entrapment, Cover-Up, The Betrayal of Princess Diana, out November 25th, lays bare for the first time the full scope of Bashir's manipulation, luring Diana's brother Charles Spencer, himself a victim of Bashir's tactics, to gain access to the princess, presenting forged bank statements suggesting palace staff were spying on her and spreading false claims that Prince Charles wanted to have her killed and William's watch was a spying device. Her life became untethered, Webb tells people in this week's cover story. It was frenzied between the interview and her death. There's so much that's new that I want to put down in this book, a first draft of history. Diana had reason to trust Bashir. He worked for one of the world's most respected news organizations. Already wary of palace officials and shaken by breaches of her privacy, including Squidgygate, a secretly recorded phone call that went public in 1992, she felt watched and increasingly isolated. Her former private secretary, Patrick Jeffson, tells people that Bashir picked a very opportune moment to show the fake bank statements to Spencer and convince him that people in Diana's orbit, including Jeffson and a senior aide to Prince Charles, were accepting money to spy on her. She was in a state of justified anxiety, says Jeffson. It is not paranoia if you have reasonable grounds to believe that they are out to get you, adds close friend Rosa Monckton. She was frail, and that made her susceptible. After Spencer, 61, arranged a meeting with Diana, Webb alleges, Bashir falsely told her that her son's nanny Tiggyleggebourke was having an affair with Charles, producing a forged document suggesting she had undergone an abortion paid for by the prince. Those claims were said to be the final catalyst that drove Diana to the interview. By the time the interview arrived, just weeks after that first meeting, Bashir's influence was firmly in place. Diana insisted on a stripped-down crew, Bashir, a producer and a cameraman, who slipped into the palace under the cover story of demonstrating a sound system. Webb describes Diana and Bashir spending 90 minutes in the kitchen, reviewing the questions and rehearsing for what will become one of the most consequential broadcasts in royal history. When the interview aired on November 20th, 1995, it delivered bombshell after bombshell. Diana spoke openly about Charles's relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles and her struggle with bulimia and confirmed her own affair with James Hewitt. It was a performance. The smoothness, the facility, the fluidity. At no point did Diana appear flustered, Webb says. The now iconic image of her eyeliner-rimmed stare drew an estimated 200 million global viewers, none aware of the lies behind it. The fallout was immediate. Within a month, Queen Elizabeth ordered Charles and Diana to proceed with a divorce. Jeffson resigned in January 1996, unaware of why the princess had turned sharply against him. It is chilling to rerun those events, Jeffson tells people, and feel that Diana was seeing me as the enemy within. Meanwhile, BBC executives knew something was wrong. In late 1995, a graphic designer told higher-ups that the bank statements were fake. When challenged, Bashir admitted to forgery but lied to managers, insisting he hadn't shown them to anyone. Only when it became impossible to hide did he confess to showing the forgeries to Spencer. Instead of confronting the implications, the BBC launched a 1996 internal review, later condemned as woefully ineffective. It accepted Bashir's shifting explanations, cleared him of wrongdoing, and buried facts that wouldn't emerge for decades. BBC bosses knew enough to warn Diana that she had been dealing with a fraudster, says Webb.